Hey everybody, Dave Garrett here. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. And this time what we're going to talk about is the American sector itself. What was it? Um, I know I mentioned the signs last time, but what was the American sector, or for that matter, what was the British sector, the French sector, and the Soviet sector? Well, 1945 came, the Allies won World War II. They destroyed the Nazis and just basically um, put a stop to all of that nonsense. So, as agreed upon prior to the war, prior to the end of the war, because they knew it was going to come to an end, the Allies, the leaders, the President Roosevelt, Prime Minister Churchill, um, General Secretary or Stalin, they all got together and said, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to definitely win this, but what are we going to do after we've won? So what they've decided was that they were going to separate respectively, sections of Germany, the entire nation, return Czechoslovakia back to where it belonged, return Austria back to where it belonged, basically take care of business prior to the way things were, prior to the way things were before the war started. And in doing that, they were also going to divide up Germany, and the Soviets were going to take the eastern part of Germany. The French were going to have a small section, the British were going to have a section, the Americans were going to have a section of Germany. Now, the capital city, that itself was Berlin, and that got divided. And East Berlin, or the eastern part of the city, went to the Soviets, and the British got the northern part of Western Berlin, and the Americans got the southern part of Western Berlin. And then room was made, and it was kind of shifted around for the French to come in there and get a piece of that action. So the French had their own sector, and that was up in the northern part. The British had their own sector, and that was in the central part, or of West Berlin, and the Americans had the southern sector of West Berlin. And of course, the Soviets stayed with their side from 1945 to 1994 when they pulled out, and the same kind of remained until reunification of Germany in 1990. But for the most part, the sectors were what they were until the Allies all left in 1994. So, the American sector was that area of Berlin that was basically that the United States was tasked to govern and maintain and help rebuild. But along the way, the British, the French, and the Americans all kind of consolidated their power and consolidated everything and just said, you know what, here you go. Take care of it. We're still here to protect you. We're still here to protect the access to and from Berlin. We're still protect the access to East Berlin as well. So all of that was taken care of. They basically let the German people set up their own city government and run with it. East Berlin, kind of the same. It was almost a mirror kind of an effect. There was a mayor. East Berlin became the capital of East Germany. No, it shouldn't have, but it did. And the Soviets, kind of the same thing, let it kind of take its course. However, they were kind of like, the puppet masters of the entire situation. But that was the Soviet Union, and that was the Cold War, and that's what was going on. So that's kind of what was everybody had. These were the sectors everybody had. Everybody was responsible for their respective sectors. The western part, or West Berlin, was kind of got a little bit more freedom because that's what we were there for. And the Soviets on their side used the East Berlin to kind of consolidate power, to kind of use it as a base in Europe to expand into and draw the final line of the Warsaw Pact. So that's what the American sector was, that's what the British sector was, that's what the French sector was, and obviously that's what the Soviet sector. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.